Board, board games, board games. I might be talking about board games, but I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this dreaming with a little bit of singing. And today, thank you for joining me. I'll be talking about uncertainty and how it can contradict agency. And I'll talk a little bit about its duality. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. It's 10 a.m. ish UK time for Bessie Beats and Board Game Leather. And I'm going to call this episode 898 The Agency Uncertainty Conundrum. So, I'm not going to delve really deep into what is agency and what is uncertainty, but for a working definition, agency is when you feel this thing has happened as a result of my actions. It's when a player feels like they are the instigator of the effect, when you make things happen and it's because of you. If someone else were to be playing the game would have turned out different. Like that feeling is a sense of agency. And then uncertainty is a sense of not knowing exactly how it will turn out. I mean, that's the key thing. That these are two key things that define games. And if we look ahead at the ending of a game, as opposed to the ending of a book or a movie or a song, which will always turn out the same way, assuming it's not a live performance, of course, um, you've got that thing of, well, it might go down different paths. If they do that, then maybe that will happen, or if the dice go different. And I'll talk about these things and explore these issues. But the more that you feel in control, the more it's likely to happen that you're understanding things, and by giving players control of what can happen, you then lead to those players knowing what's going to happen. And that's the conundrum fundamentally that I'm talking about. Before I get into that, very quickly, recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights, played lots of games on Board Game Arena, had a lot of unhealthy American food for my dinner. I went to Lidl and there was this McCready, I think it's called, like sausages with batter on them, and pizza stuffed with hot dogs, and pizza stuffed with cheese and onion rings. And yeah. But yeah, I got out, I walked around, I saw the ducks, I had a nice walk. That was probably the highlight. Getting to walk around. Brilliant thing, brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? Actually, like this morning, I also got out and there's a lovely sunshine, and like sometimes what I'm going to say is when you can see the edge of a cloud. I've talked about clouds before, but like specifically the edge of a cloud. I mean, I'm not talking about full cloud cover. I'm not talking about just like the edge of the cloud is the bit that makes it interesting, the bit that gives it form, and that slight wispiness. I mean, in the center where you've got this bulb of white, but then, like, you know, in the middle of the hair, from your point of view, is just like this mass of black. But in a sense, it's like the form of it. But like, anyway, clouds are like hair. I guess that's what I'm saying. So as always, if you're watching, then please do follow, but also comment and ask questions, because that's the reason that I do these things live. So let's talk about some sources of uncertainty. And I guess the key thing is, people ask me, Bez, why do you not like dice? Why do you not like dice? Why do you not like rolling dice? What's up with rolling dice? It's fun. It goes clicky clack. And then you get results, and then it's kind of exciting. It's a moment of excitement. Do you not like excitement? Do you not like fun in your games? And I say, yeah, I do. But I feel like as I'm rolling the die, I don't feel a sense of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? I just feel like a sense of, okay, it could go this way or it could go the other way. And it says nothing about me. I don't really feel any investment. I don't feel any agency. I think that's the key thing. So there's a lot of randomness that can come in games, whether that's from rolling dice and then things happen based on what you roll. It could be the cards that you draw, and maybe you can draw a better card, maybe you can draw a worse card, and it's all down to the shuffle. Maybe it's about drawing things out of the bag. And let's talk about that for a minute, because sure, there is a good amount of, like, I don't want this to be too much of a tangent, but I have enjoyed Quacks of Quedlinburg. I've occasionally enjoyed a push your luck game when that's what the game is about. But again, the whole idea of that game is all about the uncertainty. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen here. But the more information you give the person, the more you say, okay, well, this is how you can mitigate your luck. Okay, this is a bit more information about what might be coming. The more information you give, the less it becomes, an uncertain game, the more it becomes, yeah. I was reading a fantastic article by Charlie Frisch, about how recently replayability is equated with width rather than depth. And when I talk about replayability, I mean the fact that, yes, it's going to happen different ways. And that might be down to random effects. There's also lots of other ways that it can happen. I'll get to that. But I really want to be in control of my destiny. And the more information you give me, the more it could turn into a puzzle where I don't care to ever replay it. And that's a problem, obviously. So theoretically, we need some uncertainty. I hope we're all agreed on that. So new content, that's a way to bring about uncertainty. If it's a narrative game, boom, throw some cards in there, like you're journeying through adventure or time stories or whatever, and you see new stuff and it's kind of exciting. You're not sure what's going to happen. But then, is there really on agency? Because if I'm thinking, well, I can talk to that person, and if I talk to that person who's obviously an outcast and everyone's told me that they hate him, well, maybe by talking to that person, I'm going to get hated as well, but I'm not sure. So, like, the way to mix together agency and uncertainty here, I think, is by giving people clues to what they're doing. Like, if it was just, oh, you talk to this person, well, now everyone hates you. Well, I don't feel any agency in there. But if it was like, oh, well, everyone hates this person, well, don't go and talk to them. They're a bit of a, well, now I'm thinking, well, do I avoid them? Because if I talk to them, maybe the contest isn't going to talk to me, or do I actually talk to them because they're clearly part of the underworld and maybe they actually know what's about this place. And so giving me enough information to base my choices off so I can have a little bit of anticipation about what this new content might be. And I think, again, that's the balance to throw. I mean, this is going to be a recurring thing. It's all a balance. Complexity beyond our understanding. That's a way to get some uncertainty. So, as an extreme example, noughts and crosses, tic-tac-toe, for most adults, you understand it well enough that if you sit down and play with another adult, you expect to have a cats game or a draw. I don't know if cats game is a phrase in the USA or if it was just a local dialect. Anyway, if I go and I play Teotihuacan, then I might understand the rules, but I'm like, okay, well, there's this system and this system, and I'm not sure how they integrate. Now, there's a bit more of onboarding, a bit more of a learning curve to that game, but it's something where I would feel that uncertainty because I can't plan every single possible thing that could happen in this game. Similarly with Go, I mean, you can see the board and see what's going on, and I can see the board in a couple of games I'm currently playing and feel like, yeah, I'm probably going to lose, but hopefully I'll at least make some life. Anyway, I think that I if the game's complexity, if there's nothing beyond our understanding, then we could almost say that we've solved it. And so you need to think about having it just beyond the kind of our understanding, not so far that we don't have a clue, but just beyond. And the way that you can add stuff beyond the understanding isn't just through lots of strategy and lots of different systems or lots of possibilities of how things can relate, like on a 19 by 19 board of Go, but you could add, for example, real world physics. And in real world physics, like you might be bouncing ball, it might be this uncertainty of, okay, will this fit through this tube? I don't know. Okay, will this go this certain way? And we have a good understanding of what's going on, but no one can predict the motion of anything with 100% certainty. I mean, yeah, let's not go into edge cases. I'm sure there's like some super computer out there that could, in a very closed system, do that. But as soon as you bring in a bit of dexterity, as soon as you bring in a coefficient of fiction like bamboleo, the way that it tilts, there's a board at the top of being balanced, and the wood against that cork has such a strong, like, has so much friction that even at an extreme angle where you think surely this is all going to slide off, it doesn't. And that's surprising. That's the kind of uncertainty that leads to excitement, that leads to thinking, wow, this is really cool. But you still have enough agency because it's still you who put the things down there, and you still feel like you have enough information, because agency isn't just about you do a thing and then stuff happens. It's also, for true agency, it's about you do a thing and you had some idea of, because I'm doing this thing, that thing is more likely to happen. And because I do the other thing, that thing is maybe more likely to happen. It Agency is kind of a sister to empowerment, I would say. So the other thing that can work really well is, of course, other players. And there needs to be enough of a system for them to change what's going on. But in Noughts and Crosses, tic-tac-toe, obviously, like, the other player isn't going to make any difference. I mean, I guess if you have a totally chaotic person or someone playing randomly or a child, then yeah, you might be like, oh wow, I guess I won this thing. Um, Not sure that makes it an exciting game for adult, but if the game focuses on the negotiation, if you are able to make alliances, if there's a possibility of you trading, if there's an auction, these are all things that are inherently, like, yeah, they are high interaction. Are they higher interaction than just smacking each other around in a game of Risk? Not necessarily, but I think the key thing is that typically, I mean, as a general rule, there seems to be more granularity within, certainly within auction or detection of if someone's lying, kind of reading someone's face. And like the other day when we were playing Vamp on the Batwalk, like when someone's, oh, hooray, I'm looking at their face, seeing how long they spend playing a card. These are all social cues that you can get used to get little bits of information, but then when it comes to their turn, you don't really know what they're going to do, and they're always going to surprise you. And it's because they are because you've got the ability to almost predict what other people are doing, and that gives you a continuation of the agency and the empowerment. But there's always that interesting will they, won't they, that brings in that delicious uncertainty, and an uncertainty in a very human way. That now, I think that this leads to storytelling and creativity, and it's really manifests itself even more when we look at things with um, uh, almost infinite scope. For example, doodles, where you're doing a little sculpture, or indeed Pictionary, where you could draw anything. And sure, the whole point is that what you draw aligns with my expectations, so that I'm going to guess your word, but there's a lot of creativity on board. And then that goes even further if you delve into the area of LARPs and RPGs and stuff like that. And it's that creativity, that spark of creativity, that can lead to a moment of enlightenment. Maybe the game, just by playing it, it sparks something in you. And even within a solo game, even within a solo RPG, you can surprise yourself. And this is the most fascinating thing. So even within that, yes, you are playing this solo RPG, you make all the decisions. Are there Is there scope for uncertainty? Yes, because I believe you can surprise yourself. So many times when I've started drawing, I've ended up doing things, experiencing things, maybe being spurned on by random colors. And, sure, the solo RPGs might have dice and randomness and a lookup table, but quite often it's just here's some stuff. What does it spark in you? And this isn't meant to be a game about necessarily replaying, but we've got all the randomness, but all the randomness is happening in your brain. Isn't that amazing? And as I look at these things, I feel like this is the most wonderful thing. And sure that I've talked about solo RPGs, but even in that could be extended to one player strategic games where you're considering this puzzle and then eventually you're like, oh, I found it. And you've got that moment of enlightenment. But even within the multiplayer strategic games, I think it's about the learning, and I think as I, right now in this moment, I mean, it's analogous because I've just talked a lot, and all these tabs, I'd written them up just in the couple of minutes before this show, just for a bit of background. This morning, I was like, okay, what I'm going to talk about, and a few things sparked ideas, and I was okay, that seems interesting. And after like half an hour of thinking about it and going about my day, I settled on a topic. I wandered around, and then I thought, okay, what does make things different? And then I wrote down when I got back from my walk, I wrote the headlines that you see. But now, as I talk about it, I'm learning things through the action, because pondering something is not the same as actually doing it. And reading through the rules of a game is not the same as actually experiencing it. And playing the game, you learn, and then you learn, and then eventually there might come a time when you feel like, okay, I've basically learned 99% of what I can here, like noughts and crosses. I feel like I'm done with that game. And there's other games where I feel like, okay, I'm 99% done with it. Might I play it at some point in the future as a way to relax? Sure, because maybe on those days I don't need as much challenge. But it the learning, that to me is the ultimate fusion of the agency, the empowerment, and the uncertainty, the discovery. Because it's within yourself that you realize, oh wow, that led to that, so maybe next time I should do that. And the other thing going, oh, this is a thing, okay, I'll avoid that. And it's these moments of learning that really blend together everything that is wonderful about games. So as I think, um I mean, sometimes I think, why do I play games? What's brilliant about them? It's about the learning, I think. And it's learning in a very approachable, fun way. Sure, it's learning about things that ultimately don't matter, but by affording us that opportunity to learn from our experiences, to try, to retry, and to improve, that is the ultimate agency and empowerment. And the fact that we still know there are things that we don't understand, that is the ultimate uncertainty. It's kind of a mirror for life in a way. Anyway, question of the day, question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. My question of the day is, do you have a favorite color of brick? I mean, I see some grey granite in Aberdeen, like some red bricks, some places, like in Glasgow, there's a lot of red sandstone and or yellow sandstone, I think, is what you normally see in Glasgow. And sometimes it's like the typical red bricks. For me, I like bricks that, yeah, I like a pale red. I mean, you might not, you might, I actually wasn't even thinking, but like, also red bricks tend to have that little bit of, oh, you can sort of see the cement between, and you can sort of see a little bit of variance in the colors. I like variance in the colors. I don't need it to be like red, blue, green, like multicolored stuff like that. But I do like having, yeah, a slight variation. And as I look across, yeah, there's some bricks that are slightly darker than others, although that might just be wear and tear. Anyway, over to you. What are you up to? You can share button if you want to. So rather than try to tell you everything that I'm going to do and then potentially disappoint myself, or I'm going to say just one thing. And my one thing is yeah, it's basically a chill day for me. I'm going to try no, I am going to take 2 hours, just 2 hours, to prototype a game. So for a long time, I've been thinking about a deck construction game, and I've not made it because it's a lot to think about. I've not just got to make the rules of the game, but then also got to make the cards that work within it. And I know that whatever I make is going to be scrapped straight away. So I'm going to make a version of the game, and my friend's going to come over on Tuesday, and we'll play it together. So I'm preparing for that. So that's what I'm up to. What are you up to? Is there something that you are looking forward to doing, something that you think you need to do, or something that you'll be proud to do? Let me know. Recap and wrap up before we finish up. So to recap and wrap up, we've recap and wrap up. Actually, I'll go through the things. So dice, random card draw, randomness, like it can be definitely add uncertainty, but the more you've got of this, the less agency you feel, and then the more clues, the less agency. Similar with the new content. I think that with the new content, the best way to have that is that you kind of get an idea of what's coming out. Like you never feel cheated, and that's ultimately the balance. That you need to have a clue that going somewhere is dangerous, not just be smacked over the head because it's a coin flip. It's always good if the game has this little bits of complexity beyond our understanding, and that can be manifested in real world physics, or it can be manifested in the machinations of the other players around the table. But ultimately, even when we're just on our own, we can have this moment of enlightenment. And for me, the best fusion of agency, um, empowerment, uncertainty, discovery is learning. That's the key parts of what makes a good game, I've decided just now. So that was my recap and wrap up. If you want to check me out, some stuff by Bez in all the places. Stuffbybez.com/streams if you want to see my calendar. If you have any questions for me, then please do ask. Thank you very much, everyone. Please share, spread the word. Lots of love, and bye, 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 bye. This is Goodbye Song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for so long. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is Goodbye Song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for so long. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, bye. I said bye bye. Bye bye.